Hey everyone, have you ever wanted to play an old video game online but didn't want to wait a few hours for it to install just for the chance of not being able to play online because of the servers being dead? Well, watch this series of videos where I test old video games just to see if people still play online in order to save you guys some time. And today I'm going to start off with a set of NHL video games. I'm going to test NHL 19, 18, and 17. Now, there may not be much appeal on these games other than just kind of liking the gameplay or maybe wanting to look at an old Ultimate Team roster you may have had, but it is sometimes nice just to go back and see how far the games have progressed in the past few years. And when I tested the servers for these games, I didn't do it at any specific time, just because this wouldn't follow how someone would actually be able to play an old game online, since the games now take a few hours to install. And the decision for that would have had to have been made prior to watching my video to even decide to install the game. And each game that I'm going to test is going to be on the Xbox One servers. And after I give a general overview of how those games went in terms of the connection and all that, I'm going to give you my general impression of the gameplay and the mode to tell you how it's changed since 20. I have no further ado, let's get into playing these games. Here's NHL 19. So in this game, I was able to find matches in a few separate game modes. In threes, 3 versus 3 on EA SHL, and online versus. And the gameplay you're watching now is the online versus, and it might shift over into the threes gameplay. And I'm sorry if the frame rate's a bit off, my recording method isn't exactly ideal. But now to get into the connection overview. My connection in all of these games was absolutely perfect, and I never lagged the entire time. This game played just as you would have expected it to, back when it came back out in 2018. And I'm still kind of surprised at how many people were playing in the threes in the EA SHL game mode. When I did each of these, we filled 4 out of the 6 skater slots, and I was kind of surprised by that because you would think if there's that many people doing the threes and EA SHL that you'd be able to find a HUT game. I wasn't able to find a HUT game. But the game was also claiming that the average search time in threes and in the 3 versus 3 in EA SHL was around 1:50 to 2 minutes, but for me this wasn't any issue because I was able to find a match in a minute or less. And down to get into the gameplay overview of this game, I never kind of realized how similar it was to NHL 20 until I did this video, and I'm really glad to say this because it was a huge improvement over NHL 15, 16, 17, and 18 when this game came out. And that's mainly because the speed of this game is exactly what you would expect it to be. It's really fast, the turning in this game is fast, and it just feels the way you would want it to feel whether you watch or play hockey. But the hitting in this game did feel kind of clunky in threes. If you laid out a big hit, sometimes you and the guy you hit would be down for about 8 seconds. Now, if you're in NHL 20, they kind of fixed this problem because they sped up like how fast everybody gets up. So that's not really much of a problem anymore, but I would say back in this game, it definitely was. But in the online versus, the hitting is kind of a different story. This felt exactly how you would want it to. But it did feel a bit harder to land some big hits, whereas in NHL 20, I feel like it's a lot easier to land those big hits. And every now and then, like if you're mismatched with a small guy versus a big guy, you really won't affect him at all if you hit him with that small guy. I feel like in 20, you may at least nudge him off the puck. In this game, I didn't really feel like that happened at all. But regardless of all that, the hitting in this was still a huge improvement from 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now let's hop into NHL 18 and see what happened there. So let me start out by saying that the game does claim that there's around 300 people that are still online playing the game, but only about 80 or so are actually playing the online game modes, so for the most part, the game is dead. But with that being said, I did manage to find a match, an online shootout, and the online versus. And when I did the online versus, I did have a little bit of lag, but it was still more than playable. I would probably lag for about 0.5 seconds, but it never did feel like it affected the outcome of the play. And if you've ever played NHL 20, and you lag for a few seconds, you'll know when you come back, like when your internet finally catches up and you're done lagging, you'll kind of be in like this fast-forwarded state in NHL, and kind of just zoom by the in-game time, like for like 20 or 30 seconds, like in-game time, probably about like 2 seconds in real life. This never happened to me. I would have like a slight lag for like 0.2 seconds and be right back into the game. Nothing was of a problem. In the online shootout, though, this was a different story, because I did have more lag here than in the online versus. But in a shootout, a little bit of lag can ruin the entire play, can make you lose just because you only have 3 or 4 seconds per shot. And if lag spikes occur more often than that, then you're going to notice that because your move messes up or you can't move your goalie over because you were lagging. So because of this, I would debatably say that this is not playable, the online shootout. And this doesn't help because the game also said I had a good connection with both people. It gave me 3 out of 3 bars instead of 2 out of 3 bars was what I felt like I should have had for the online shootout. For the online versus, I'm fine with 3 out of 3 bars for that just because, like, I only like a minimal amount of time, so like, that's fine. But with all that being said, let me hop into the gameplay now for this game. And this will remind you of why exactly nobody plays this game anymore, because the skating is slow, the turning is slow, the game just feels slow. And if you want to hit anybody on the ice, you have to use the heaviest hitter that's out there. If you try to use a smaller body, you won't even really do anything to him. But if you want to torture yourself and revisit this game, you can be my guest with it. But I strongly encourage everybody here to let me be the last person that revisited this game, because nobody should be playing 18 anymore. It is not fun. If you want to play 19, play 19. That's fun. 18, not fun. And now let's hop into NHL 17. Now for this game, I'm going to be using NHL 20 gameplay because, you probably guessed it, I could not find any matches in this game. But when I went on, it did say there was around 150 people playing online. And if I have a screenshot of it, I'll show you where it said that there was 2 people playing online versus. But obviously 2 people playing online versus, that could probably just be 2 friends playing against each other, and that just says 2 people playing. So for all intents and purposes, this game is actually fully dead. I couldn't find any games. Most of the modes said there were 0 people online for it. So I assume that puts most people playing in franchise mode. But this isn't to say that you can never find a match in this game, because I have seen videos on YouTube in the past couple months of people finding matches, but I wasn't so lucky. But if you go on at the right time of night, maybe you go on a Friday or Saturday night, you might find a game. But my test wasn't to see about a Friday or Saturday night, it was just to see about any time of day, if you could find a match. Couldn't find one here. So what did we learn here today? Well, we learned that we can still play 19 and 18 online. 17, you might have to get a bit lucky playing that. And sadly, I don't have copies of NHL 15 and 16, so I couldn't test those ones out. But I have to imagine that you can't play those ones online, and if you can, you probably don't want to because they play similar to NHL 18. The only 2 I would seriously recommend playing would be 19 and 20, just because they play similar to each other. And to me, if I had to compare it to my favorite NHL 14, I would say 19 and 20 are easily the ones that best compare to NHL 14. But yeah, there you have it, guys. You can only play 18 and 19 online, and HUT is essentially completely dead in all the games. But if you want to play online versus and just get a feel of how those games used to play and look at the old rosters, that's always fun to go and do. And with that, I will see you guys in the next video.